It's Wednesday, May 28th. When you feel blah, do you ever have any of those blah days? Well, in the word for you today, it helps us to deal with that. And it takes us to Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18. It says, where there is no revelation or no vision, the people cast off restraint, or they perish. But blessed is he who keeps the law. This verse is often used for leaders or of leaders who are called on to cast a vision. What is your vision? Tell us the direction to go, and we'll go, and this type of thing. But is that really what it's saying? I don't think that's what it's saying at all. It says, where there is no revelation and no vision, the people cast off restraint, or the people perish. Has an idea, and what's it really talking about? Well, if you look at the second part of that verse, but blessed is he who keeps the law, he's referring to the law. Where there is no revelation or vision of the law, the people cast off restraint. They lose their way. It says, when there is no vision or revelation. It's talking about the law. It's not talking about some person that's got this idea about what we're supposed to do. And then it says, people cast off restraint, or they perish. When people do not know God's law, how can they be warned? Cast off restraint or perish means to go about with a lack of morals. Remember when the children of Israel left Egypt, they're going to the promised land, and Moses went up on the mountain to spend time with God and actually received the 10 Commandments? Well, Aaron was over the people that were down below, and they had this big party. And they gather up all this jewelry, and they make a golden calf. And then they worship this golden calf that led them out of Egypt. Well, the funny thing is they just created it. They've been on this trip, and they just now created this calf. So how did it lead them out? Well, that doesn't matter. But then later Moses comes down, and he's got the 10 Commandments, and remember, he broke them. He had to go back up and get some more. But in the 10 Commandments was do not make for yourselves any idols. The people perished. Why? They weren't told not to make an idol. Maybe they should have known beforehand. I don't know. Maybe they did it anyway. The idea is when they disobey, they're going to perish. Well, and when they don't know, they perish. Even if you don't know what you're doing is wrong, you still suffer the consequences of that. And then, where there is no revelation or vision, it's one reason God gave them the 10 Commandments. He gave them rules to live by. The people cast off restraint, or they perish. When you don't know how to act, you have a difficult time. You go to ball games. You see ball games, and you see this little kid, and this little kid is acting absolutely awful. He's making obscene gestures. He's just out of control. And then you see right next to him his dad, who's doing the very same thing. Well, this kid doesn't know any better. You get mad at the kid. Well, the kid doesn't know any better. He's just doing what his dad's doing. He's just out of control. He has no vision of what he's supposed to do, of what's right or wrong. He's just doing what he sees. And because of that, he casts off restraint. There's no withholding. There's no hesitation to do wrong. So where there's no revelation, the people cast off restraint. But blessed is he who keeps the law. We're not saved by obeying the law, but we are blessed. God gives us the 10 Commandments. He gives us laws and rules. Why? Not to keep us from having fun, but to protect us. Each one of those 10 Commandments are there to protect us, to help us to enjoy life better, to be content, to be able to be blessed by him. There was a man that looked at the Statue of Liberty, and he did some studying on it, and he noticed that after the Statue of Liberty had been here for a while, in the United States, it needed some repair work. The outside of it was fine. It just needed to be cleaned. But the inside of it, the iron inner structure was corroding and would soon fall. And pretty soon it would just collapse. It would fall because it would collapse from within. So they went in and they replaced the iron with stainless steel. They did so well they could even withstand 175 miles per hour winds. Had they not done that, it just simply would have collapsed, and it would have collapsed from the inside out. Well, that's what not having any revelation, any vision, not having any information about the law, that's what the law does. The law gives us strength. It strengthens us from inside. And when we don't have that strength, guess what? We collapse from the inside. And frankly, that's what's a problem with our world today. There's a lot of people that they want nothing to do with God's law. They want nothing to do with obeying God. And you see that in their behavior. You see that in the way that they live. And we in the church, sometimes we're the worst. Why? Because we know. We have seen it. And the question is, are we living up to it? Yes, I know we're going to sin. Yes, I know we're going to mess up. Okay. That should be the exception. The general rule should be as we are obeying God's law. Blessed is he who keeps the law. We should be blessed. Why? Because we're obedient to God. And the world sees that. And some won't care, but there'll be many. There'll be many who look, and they're looking for that blessing. And they'll say, that's the way I want to be. So let me ask you, does anybody want to know Jesus because of the way you or I act? Have a good day.